Okay, all you have to do is pay attention to her.
That's
and
what I'll
forget
do.
the rest of us exist.
You don't.
I'm the only one. Okay. Do you wanna you ready?
We're rolling, so you can start.
You ready? Okay.
Hey, can we record on this?
Hmm? Everybody comfortable? I'll record that? Yep. As soon as it starts, is it recording?
Yep.
Okay. So this is an interview with Bob Steuber.
Okay. Why don't we start out with you telling me a little bit about being an All-American at Missouri?
There is no way to tell you a little bit about being an All-American, except that it is a dream of everyone who goes to play ball in college to be named to an All-American team. And it's a great honor, a privilege, and you just become elated, so I don't know how much farther you can go with that.
Okay. Well then, how do you get to DePauw from Missouri?
Well, I was called into the Navy from the Chicago Bears, and with our Navy program in the V5, I was sent there for ground schooling and for physical education too, you know. And that's where I got to meet Gaumey, Neal, and in fact, we got in on either a Wednesday, either Tuesday or Wednesday. And we no sooner got into our barracks than a call came out on the bullhorn to report downstairs. And we went downstairs and they called by name each of the fellows that had played football in college. And they took us right out to the stadium. We met Gaumey, Neal, and they issued a uniform, and that was it. We played ball.
Okay, so there was just a short time then before that. The first game was then that following Saturday?
Saturday,
Okay.
right.
And then, okay, the 1943 team has been called the best team to ever play at DePauw. Can you tell me a little bit about the different players that made up that team?
We had a wealth of really prominent university players, instead of college players, university players on the higher level. And like Bob Johnson from Purdue, Zilly, and if I have my little sheet, it's been so many years, but we rounded out a ball club using some of DePauw's students too, by the way, but also the V-12 naval cadets that were at DePauw at that time. So we had the wealth of drawing power. And Gaumey welded it into really a fine organization. It was probably the best football team, one of the best football teams I ever played on. I would say that our 1941 football team at Missouri University would have beaten the same team, but not by much.
Okay. How did you feel as a player to be part of such a phenomenal team?
Well, you know, glory is a short-lived thing, and it was a lot of glory. And I was heaped upon me. A lot of glory was heaped upon me because I was making the touchdowns. But you know, there's 10 other people there that got to be in the way of somebody else to get you to that point where you can do it. And I think really that, like the yearbook that I read the other day again, it's nothing but me, you know. And I felt that they were short-sighted in not doing the accolades towards the players that really made it possible for me to do what I did in school. I really feel that way.
I think it says a lot about Gaumey Neal as a coach to take that, you know, that group of men that had never been on the field together and like you said, weld them into a playing team. What was he like as a coach?
One of the finest gentlemen I've ever known in my life, and I say that sincerely. In category with Don Perot, Paul Brown, Fritzie Heisler was his assistant coach, and he was big leg, absolutely a big leg, a great gentleman. And I was sorry to hear the other day that he had passed away.
What was his coaching technique? I know I read someplace that he wasn't into the big locker room speeches and
Never.
things. What did he do to you know, get the team going and to excite them?
Didn't have to. He had an aura about him that instilled confidence in the players, and everyone knew that they had a job to do, and it was to play football. So what Gaumey would do would tell us the plays, give us the plays, and try to figure out a way on defense to beat the other team. And he did it very smoothly, not a lot of haranguing or harassing or anything like that. It was, he was not, who would I say? He's not the type of coach that would be boisterous and come in and start raising hell and everything else at the halftime or anything like that. And he'd point out what you were doing wrong very emphatically, and you'd go out and try to do better. That's all there was to it.
What?
Push that close. There you go. Wind is attacking you.
Exactly. Okay. What about Gaumey Neal as a man?
As I said before,
Well,
a gentleman.
Through my research, I found that during the times in the 30s, during the Great Depression, and during World War II, that he wasn't only a coach, that he went out and he made sure that his players, had everything that they needed outside of playing. Do you have any?
Well, see, we didn't have that kind of contact because we were Navy, and as long as we were on the football field or in the gym, getting ready to go out on the field, why, that was the only contact we had. As far as being with him to help us out, there wasn't any way he could do it because we were under direct control from Uncle, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What do you have, maybe a story or a specific memory about Gaumey Neal? Maybe some personal interaction with him, something that he did or.
Yeah, he came to me after the last game. He came to our barracks, in fact, and he asked me if he could have my football shoes. And he took them and had them bronzed. Now, whether they're still there or not, I don't know. But that, to me, showed me how much Gaumey appreciated what I did on the field, and was a great uplift,
Okay. Individually, you scored 129 points in only 5 games at DePauw, and you rushed for more than half the team's total in yards. What factors do you think contributed to your success at DePauw?
The 10 other players. That's it.
Just simply
Somebody's got to open the holes. Somebody's got to be playing with you. You got to all play together. And this was one of Gaumey's fortes, was that he could take 11 men and work them into one. And any good football coach has to do that. I mean, you can't have cliques. I've seen it happen at our own university, University of Missouri. I saw cliques there. After I came back, I went back to school for a while and assisted as an assistant coach, And I saw cliques there that ruined football teams, and they can do it. My buddy didn't play last game. If he doesn't play this game, I'm not going to do it. That type of thing. That's what really gets you.
Okay. The team that year only played 6 games. Wasn't a
The
full
team played 6. We only got to play 5.
You played 5.
Right.
What attributed to the short season?
Well, the other teams decided that as long as DePauw was going to play the V5 and V12 players, this is the way I understand it anyway, they would not play them the second game because it was a home-and-home series. And so Gaumey went out, and so did Fritzy Heisler, and we tried to get a game at Purdue. We tried to get a game with Indiana, and several other big service teams we tried to get games with. Nobody'd play us. Now you can see why Purdue wouldn't, or Indiana wouldn't. Here we're a little school, and that was in the back of their mind. If they got defeated, what would it look like to them, and what would happen to their getting other players to come to their school if they got beat by a little school?
Now, were other schools in the area using the military player, or were they?
No, I think DePauw is the only one in that area that had the V5, V7 programs there.
Okay.
V12, I'm sorry, V12.
Okay, so but were Purdue and Indiana and those teams using them, or were they just there?
I really don't know. Honestly, I don't.
Okay, so and when you were at DePauw, you were training, and you were training for the Navy, attending classes, and playing football. How were you able to do it? I mean, it's an amazing schedule. I mean, it must have been physically draining.
No, really, it was no more than if, like any other station I was ever at, you had a certain amount you had to do phys ed wise. obstacle courses, all those type of things, like you see in your yearbook. Shows some of the Navy people going over obstacle courses, and it wasn't any different. It was just as easy as, not as easy as being in the service and going to war, not actually in the war. But at the training camps, the training schools, why, it was just about the same.
Okay. Do you by any chance remember meeting Gaumey Neal's daughter, Mary?
Never did.
Never?
No. I don't remember it.
Okay.
How old would she be now?
She's about, I believe she's about 70 now.
I may have then,
She's about 20
because
at that time.
like I'm going to be 73, so yes, I might have met her,
Okay.
but I can't remember distinctly.
Okay. Do you recall maybe a particular game or maybe a particular play that you could maybe recount for us? Or
No, a particular game I can. It was the Fort Knox game. And we were out in the field getting ready before the game, you know how you warm up and everything, and the whole team got together and we looked and we saw these Amazons. I mean, they were big. They had the whole of the Army at Fort Knox to get their players from. And we all felt, well, this is going to be our task. And we're going to have an undefeated team, you know. But it didn't turn out that way. We took them to task real easy, very easily.
okay, they weren't.
They were big, but they weren't fast.
Okay.
And we had a fast team. Everybody on our team could run.
And then, what was your best time? What was the best memory you have of being at DePauw?
5 of them.
5 of them.
All 5 games.
All 5?
It was a lot of fun, believe me. I guess the one at when we played Indiana State, where we gave up 6 points, hurts me the worst because we didn't. That way we would have been scored upon, you know. And but we beat them 39-6. And I think I only played like 25 minutes in that ball game, or 20 minutes, something like that.
Okay. Do does anyone else have any more
Well,
questions?
I'd like you to tell her again the story about Gaumey's request at the end of the
Oh, the
season.
shoes?
Yeah, if you just tell the same story to her again, that would be great.
All right. Okay. How do you want to preface it?
Pardon?
How do you want to
Just-
preface it?
You can
Ask
ask
her,
you
ask,
can question.
no, ask him a question.
Okay.
They say ask him about the Gaumey's, you know,
Okay,
the remembrance of Gaumey.
Okay, what is your
Biggest remembrance?
your favorite?
Okay, is after the last game. Okay, Gaumey came, and I believe I'm right in saying this. He came to our barracks.
Can you hold on one second? What I need you to do is not touch the microphone.
Oh, okay.
Thanks very much. Let's try to start over again, please.
Okay, your
Yeah.
favorite memory.
My favorite memory was when, after the last game, we stayed around. I can't remember how long it was, approximately a month or month and a half, maybe. And Gaumey came in the barracks one day and he asked a favor, and he asked me if he could have my football shoes. I was the first one at the University of Missouri to ever wear low-cut football shoes, like baseball shoes. And I asked him what he wanted for. He said he wanted to get it bronze and he wanted to put it in the showcase there at the university. Now whether it's still there, I don't know. But I thought that was exceptional to have a coach ask you for your shoes, you know. Touched me deeply.
Good. Now, what about asking him about the difference between professional play and working with Gaumey? And you
Okay.
played with the Bears, and then you were playing with Gaumey. It seems like all of a sudden. Why don't you ask him something about
Okay.
that?
All right. Well, so you went from playing
College ball.
college ball to playing professional ball,
Right.
back again to playing college ball at a smaller school
Mm-hmm.
than where you first started. And so obviously, I don't know what your expectations would have been. What were your expectations going into DePauw? Did you know you could
Well,
play football?
No, we never knew from one day to the next where we were going to go, honestly. In fact, I didn't know until we boarded the train that we were going to DePauw. They wouldn't divulge any place you were going because it was wartime. I mean, you couldn't tell it because you couldn't write home and say, well, Dad, I'm going to be going to this Podunk Center, or I'm going here, I'm going there. They wouldn't allow you to do that. But going from the University of Missouri to pro football and being my first year is like a freshman getting on the varsity team for the first time. You're in awe of these players that have been all pro for 13 years, like George Musso with Chicago at that time. And who else was there? We had about 3 or 4 all pros for 10, 12, and 13 years. Sidney Luckman was our quarterback, one of the great names in pro football today. And he's being honored, by the way, this end of this month or next month down in Florida at the NFL alumni dinner they're going to have down there. And so you're in awe when you go in as a freshman, you know, shaky. And then you walk up with George Musso and the wrestler, oh good gosh, Bronco Nagurski. He was from Minnesota. Bronco, and I'm right behind the two of them. And they walk up, and the supply man puts out their uniforms, and they take the pants and they pull them inside out and tear all the lining out of them. No padding whatsoever. Now Bronco wouldn't have worn a helmet, but the rule had come in that you had to wear a helmet. So when you see these guys doing that, you know, you kind of look, and you hope you can do your best. And then to go from there on back to college ball again, made it twice as easy for me to go into college ball because I wasn't a freshman anymore. I'd been through the route and knew a little bit of what was going on, you know. Mm-hmm.
So do you feel that that your pro experience is what maybe was a big factor in your success?
Yes, because I learned something. I started learning it at the university in my senior year. I was pretty big in those days for college ball and used to try to run over everybody. And I had the speed to outrun them by cutting and going to the other side, you know. So I started learning that my last year in school. Then I went to the pros and they taught you how to do it. They showed you exactly what you should do. And then going on back and going back to another college team, why, it made a lot of difference because I had the moves then that I didn't have really in my last 2 years in college. It really helped.
What about maybe a comparison of Gaumey Neal and his coaching style and abilities to, you know, I don't
Don
know.
Farrow, my football coach in college,
Or I don't know who was.
well, see,
coaching
and
the Bears.
when I went with the Bears, the really big name in coaching then was George Halas. But Halas was called, he was in the Navy himself at that time. So he had Luke Johnsos take over as the coach of the Chicago Bears. And I wouldn't compare Gaumey with a pro coach. Gaumey was too nice of a fellow. So I wouldn't want to put him in that category. But with Paul Brown, I would, a pro coach, and Don Farrow. Well, he's in that category. Real fine man, fine gentleman, and you can't say enough about them. They're just fine coaches, and they got good level heads. They're smart. Gaumey did one other thing, too, that Don Farrow did. Or Paul Brown. I was going to say Paul Brown. Don Farrow was the man who ran everything. He ran offense, he ran defense. Paul Brown did not when I went to Cleveland Browns. Paul Brown was the backfield coach, the offensive coach, and Neal, Blanton Collier was his defensive coach. So in our meetings, Paul Brown would give everything you had to do for the offense, and then walk out of the room. Blanton Collier would tell you what you did on defense, and that's the way it was. Whereas Gaumey gave Fritz Heisler the offense. He was the Navy man that was there with us, and who became assistant coach to Paul Brown, offensive coach, backfield coach, when I went there that year in 1946. And that's the type of coach Gaumey was. He didn't want to take the whole show. Just a good coach all the way around.
Okay. I don't.
Okay, what about, you played Wabash?
Oh,
We
yeah.
played
We
Wabash.
got, yeah.
Moan- we need a Moan
We
on
need a
memory.
Moan on. I forgot. I almost forgot. Okay. I believe you beat them 14-0.
14.
No more. 40. 40. I
Was
mix
it
all-
45 or
I mix all my
something
years
like
up
that?
together. 42. No. 40.
40
40,
nothing.
40 to nothing. Do you have any
Now I'm going to tell you something, and you're DePauw in those days, and I told a sports writer from Indianapolis before that Wabash game that I never heard of the Monan Bell when I was in college there at DePauw University. I didn't know it until this past year.
you didn't know at all what it was?
Mm-mm.
And it
I
was
really
only-
didn't.
It was only 11 years old at that point. Like the actual Monon Belt, not the rivalry was, a good 30, 40 years
Well, we
old.
knew the rival. I knew about the rivalry, but I didn't know a thing about Monan Bell. Not a thing, honestly.
Do you have any?
But the Wabash game, I think if ever Gaumey gave a real pep talk, it was that one, because he told us how much it meant to the university at that time, and we could have done it a lot worse. Gaumey stopped it. That could have been a 75-0 ball game with ease. But Gaumey wouldn't let us run the score up.
What do you recall? Maybe what he said to you, or how he? Or,
Not exact words, but he never did say that I'm not going to run the score up either. The way the coaches do that, so you don't run up the score, they take your first teams out. And if they had any record there, you'd probably see that the first team only played about a quarter and a half, and that was about it.
did he do that a lot that season?
Mm-hmm. All season.
All season, just. Because I remember.
Today, coaches would not do anything like that. Don Farrow was like that. We played Fort Riley, and it was the same score, by the way, 39-6, like it was at Indiana State. And Don Farrow pulled out the first two teams out and put the third team in, so the score wouldn't be run up like that.
Did
Not today.
not
All
today.
they want is records. Records. Yeah.
Do you maybe are you familiar at all with any of the recent football at DePauw? Any of the coaches?
Just this last year, as I watched, I read about it in our newspaper as much as we could get. This one sports writer from Indianapolis said he would send me, and never did, the account of the game, and he never did do it.
You know who won, don't you?
Oh yes, I do. It was in the paper the next day. Mhm. I was pulling for them. I really wanted to win that game, since I knew that this Moon Bell, and especially that I know how much the rivalry is between the two.
Do you maintain any contacts with anyone that you met when you were at DePauw?
No, I wish I should. I wish I did, because I would like to know one of the queens that I was talking to you earlier about, Ann Bishop. I was wondering if she's still alive, because she was really a fine lady, and I think I talked to her once or twice the whole time I was there, but she impressed me very much.
Do you maybe have any more stories about some of the players on the team when you were there?
No, because now if you were asking me about college and when I was in Mizzou, there'd be all kinds of stories. But see, being confined the way we were in a barracks, we didn't have, I shouldn't say that, because yes, there was one thing that a group of us, Bob Johnson, myself, and Riggert, and two others, used to get together on weekends. This was after the season. And we'd go into Indianapolis to the old Lincoln Hotel, and I don't even know if it's still there. They had a smorgasbord. That was the best smorgasbord we ever ate in our life. And so we made it a point, anytime we got leave enough to go in, we would go in there, and that's what we would do, go to that smorgasbord. And that was about the extent of everything we got to do. Roll call at night, the whole bit. So you really didn't have much time to fraternize and go out and hit the bars and stuff like that, you know what I mean?
Let me maybe give you a couple names and see if maybe you can maybe just say a little bit.
Which names are you? Because if we don't have them, there's no reason to do it.
Not
I mean,
even-
if it's Jewett and
Just
Binks are the
Jewett.
only people we had down for that, and so they're the wrong years.
Oh, okay.
So we're fine, I think. Do you have anything else? Who do you see? Hmm? Oh.
Okay. Can you think of anything else that we might find useful, I guess?
No, not, as I say, being confined the way we were. There wasn't any, real stories that you could grab onto and hold for the rest of your life. And that's been 50 years ago. There may have been a few little things that happened that pretty hard to bring back to memory at this time.
Nothing on the field or?
No.
Okay.
As Tina
Not really.
pushes.
Yeah. Well, I'm just, maybe
I think
some
we
more
got
about-
I
Okay.
think we got it.
Okay.
Okay.
We're in good shape.